Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Black Eel Podcast. Here are your hosts, Scott and Mike. And, huh,
What?
all right, never mind. There was a delay on my side. I apologize. So, we're going to get right into talking about what this episode is going to be about. We're going to be going on talking about episode 4 of The Bad Batch, and we'll be talking about season 1 of X-Men the Animated Series to get ready for X-Men 97. So we're gonna go right into episode 4 of Bad Batch. Before we get into that, you know what I realized? So there's only gonna be 15 episodes in this season, one less than all the others.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if you knew this, some of the weeks are gonna be double episodes.
I didn't pay attention. No, I did not know.
So I looked up the schedule, and there's 2 weeks, like obviously one in March, and I think one in the beginning of April, where it's double episode.
Interesting.
I'm assuming because they got to be like heavily related, I would imagine,
Yeah.
because it's not like when you look at numbers wise, it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like 9 or 10 or whatever, and then 12 and 13. Like it's
Oh,
not like it's not like mid season and season finale. It's like random in the season. It looks like so they got to be like closely related. Like if they only released one of those episodes, the fandom would cry would be my guess. So I just thought that was interesting that there's going to be at least 2 weeks where there's going to be two episodes
yeah,
premiering.
that is interesting. Especially with, like you said, with the fact that it's not like the mid-season or
Yeah,
finale.
I mean maybe one of them's mid-season, but I don't remember it looking that way.
Hmm.
But I remember like obviously with the two of them, one of them was not the season finale for sure.
Hmm.
So I just thought that was odd, and not necessarily in a bad way. I just was expecting
No, it's
it all to
no,
be
that's
one at a
definitely not.
time. And if anything was double, I would expect it to be like we just said, like mid season slash season finale,
Yeah.
series finale actually.
Anything that gets me to watch more instead of having to suffer through the end of the episode and being like, I can't wait for next week.
Yeah. All right. So let's get right into this. I will say this episode surprised me.
In the sense of,
So the very end is what surprised me. I wasn't expecting. So spoiler alerts. Um, I wasn't expecting us for a reunion of the Bad Batch so early.
I'll be honest, I was surprised by that as well. I was expecting it to take a couple of episodes.
I mean,
Uh,
I wasn't expecting it to be like mid season or anything like that. I just was expecting it to be a little bit later, not literally like, hey, by the way, they've been looking at each other for months and now they're here.
yeah, yeah, seriously. Um, yeah, no, I wasn't expecting because I mean we talked about it in the last podcast. I was expecting it to go like a kind of bounce around kind of
Mm,
thing where like one they get to one spot and then they get to the other spot, and then
pretty,
just keep doing that for a few episodes. But they jumped right into it. I'm not gonna say I'm unhappy about it. I'm
no,
so thrilled, and
no, I
uh,
had no issues with it. I think I just was more just wasn't expecting it.
yeah, no, yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's more of my thing where it wasn't anything bad. It was just more the fact like, oh, and then for a split second, I did think for a minute that Hunter wasn't there. Not dead, but not there for a
no,
split
no, no.
second.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna be there.
Just because I was thinking like maybe he went somewhere while trying to just to make sure in case this was a trap.
Yeah,
But
no, I
anyway,
figured he was. I mean, I didn't get that thought. I just assumed when Wrecker came out, I was like, okay, Hunter's still in the ship. Um,
I also thought that this episode was interesting because we got a dynamic that I don't think we've ever actually seen before
with Omega
between
and
crosshairs.
Crosshair. Yeah,
Yes.
well, yeah. No, we never saw it because when Omega came around, Crosshair was with the Empire.
Yeah, he was already kind of well.
He, would-
He was kind of he was following orders
yeah,
at
yeah,
that point. Yeah, I gotta say, I think I was just more. I liked it overall because he's really was becoming more of a member of like the group. Granted, he always was. I mean, it's not that, but I mean, like in this series, he really has it.
yeah. No, in the series he hasn't. I mean, just you're seeing the dynamic of him. Like you're seeing his character change all over again because he's been with the Empire for so long. He's got their mentality again, and now you're seeing him once again work as a team player. Whereas before in the Empire, it was just like, yeah, every man for himself and for yourself, as long as it's for the greater good of the Empire, whatever. And like we saw it in the episode where Omega was going after Batcher, the pig dog, um, and Hunter was just like, if you go after that dog, I'm just gonna leave. And eventually, he changed his mind. Was like, nope, I'm gonna
But he
go
changed
be
his
with her.
mind faster than I expected. I thought it was going to be more of a reveal. It was literally like he was like, and turned around and walked. Like we saw him going there, and
Yeah,
then, but again, that wasn't that. That was like minor, like
yeah, yeah,
nothing
yeah.
bad. I also am like, here's my question because they've been hinting at this all season. What's up with his hands?
I think just with all the testing that they were doing to him and the torture, it like affected him. So
Okay.
just his precision isn't there anymore because they screwed him up.
All right,
um,
fair. I was curious because I didn't know if it was like a clone thing that I didn't know from like the shows slash comics slash books. Um, if it was like a deterioration thing, or
it could be, but I mean, I have not seen anything about it. I mean,
all right, fair enough.
we've seen instances of clones fighting in Rebels when they're older and they've never had that issue of,
I mean, they're
uh,
old. It's just a matter that they're being old,
yeah,
than anything else. No, I just was curious because it was something that not so much that it concerned me. I was just curious at why it was happening because they really didn't explain it.
yeah, no, they
It was
didn't, they
kind of just
didn't.
like, yeah, my hands hurt, and that was kind of like the end of it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going off of the fact that it's like just from the torture and whatever they were doing to him that just affected his
Because in this
steadiness.
episode, if I remember correctly, we didn't see any of that struggle, or it didn't look like he was struggling.
So I mean, I think he struggled a little bit because he wasn't like he missed shots,
Okay,
and
fair enough. Fair
before
enough.
he wouldn't miss shots. But I mean, they didn't make it as big of a deal as they did in the first three episodes.
Okay. So as long as we're on the same page on that one, it didn't look as big of a deal, but I do get your point. He did miss more than I just was thinking in my mind. Like I wasn't like I wasn't thinking the fact of like, oh, he's missing. It was more the fact of like, oh, he's just I wasn't expect I was like in my mind when I saw it, it was like, oh, he just couldn't get a clear shot. And then now that you say that, it's like, no, he always has a clear shot.
Yeah, he would
And I
figure it out.
Yeah, I forget that piece, and that's one of the big things for me.
Yeah, no, that's my thought. But I am I am thrilled because they got a little hint. We got a little sneak peek at a creature that the creatures that were caught in that the Empire was hoarding in the cages,
Yeah,
um,
what is that?
and one of them was a Rakthar, Rathar. What's it called? Crap. Um,
Rainclaw?
huh?
Rainclaw?
No, 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 not a Rancor. It's a creature that it was
I have.
prevalent in the books.
Oh,
Um, it was the tentacle creature that
yeah,
took the captain.
the one that ate the guy.
Yep,
The technically the high ranking officer in the city.
Captain Man.
I forgot that that was his name. I'm glad.
I'm-
Actually, out of all of them, that's the one I'm glad I forgot. 'Cause the one I was going to come up with was a better name.
okay, I'm glad. um,
'Cause Captain Man is just stupid.
I agree. It wasn't that creative. It's with two N's. I'll tell you that.
Man.
um, but yeah, it was prevalent in the books. I don't remember it. Apparently, when I was looking on Twitter after the episode, people
Mhm.
were saying that they made that creature was one of the creatures that Han and Chewie were smuggling in Episode 7. Um, I don't remember this whatsoever, but
I mean, maybe if it was a quick thing, but I don't think we saw like. If anything, we probably saw just as much of it as we did in this episode.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think we, because I don't remember seeing a full fledged creature.
yeah. No, I don't remember that,
But I
but
could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen
it's
it.
been quite some time, so it could have. But like I said, I don't remember this. I just remember it from the books. It was in the It was in the High Republic series,
Okay.
uh, and so it was it was a very formidable creature against the Jedi.
Okay.
Um,
I felt like it was something that I should have known, like the way they were kind of like showing it without showing it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
just the
It's like,
tentacles.
oh, yeah, it's like, oh, you should like in my mind when I see that, like when they do something like that, in my mind I go, oh, they must. In my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, we're doing this for the audience so they could be like, oh, we know what this is without
Yeah.
showing them what it is. And of
Mhm.
course, me going, I don't know what it is
I mean,
because I
technically,
didn't.
if you're caught up with like all the lore, then yeah, it's like a
I mean,
but
it was probably for those diehard Star Wars. And again, I'm not saying that I'm not. I just have not read and know everything.
yeah,
We know that I'm new to it. I do know a lot more than I did, obviously, 4 years ago. But um, I can honestly say, like, this was a. It wasn't something that I could be like, oh, I know. Like,
yeah,
it looked like just a tentacle thing and then sounding like he was being eaten, but not
hmm
fully. Like, it's weird. Like, when you hear somebody, like, screaming, it's like, well, he's not being eaten because we wouldn't be
you
hearing
wouldn't
this.
hear it.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to see what happens there. I will say this: I do like the dynamic, and I did mention this earlier about like Omega and Crosshairs, but specifically the fact of she wants to do it the right way, and he's just going along with it. He thinks it's stupid, but instead of being like "f this, I'm out," right? He's like, "All right, well, she helped me. I'm at least going to help her when she fails."
Yeah,
You know, what I'm saying? And that's really how I took it. And again, I think he was surprised at how well it was going for a while because it was going well.
no, yeah. I mean, he says it too in the episode where like he's like, "This is stupid. Like this is pointless. Why are we doing
Not
this?"
going to work.
And she turns around and she's like, "Well, do you have a better idea? Because if we have a better idea, I'll do it." And he couldn't come up with one, so he was like,
Correct. That's why he shut up because he was literally like she gave him the option. He's like, I got nothing.
"Yep,
And
yep,
the only option he had was shooting everyone, and then taking a shuttle. That was his only thing.
yep."
And technically, he did do that, but later. Um,
But it was part of a plan this time.
no, it was part of a plan this time. I think the other thing too was her playing the card game was kind of funny, in my mind. And was she cheating on purpose with the dog pig?
No, I don't think so.
No, it just so happens that he was like nodding his head and everything.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Because I didn't think she was cheating, and then I saw that and I was like, I don't think she's known him long enough to do that.
No, no, no. I think he was just yeah, no.
It was just distracting to the Captain Man,
Yep.
and I thought that whole thing was interesting too because she's tricking some low life, right? Some very much gambleaholic,
hmm
and she takes pretty much all his money. And then the big guy comes in and is like, "Oh, well, why don't you deal with a real opponent?" And Crosshairs is ready to put a well, I was going to say a bullet between his eyes, but a blaster between his eyes. And she's like, and
I
then she
got
beats
this.
him. She beats him, and then there's a fee, and she's just like, really? How
hmm
much is the fee? Well, it happens to be 10,000 credits. And
hmm
then he takes the dog pig and is like, I want all my money back. And she's just like, you know what, Crosshairs, we're going to do it your way. And the smile on his face was priceless. It almost broke the camera. It was a slight smirk. That's the most movement we've seen of his mouth. So he starts shooting. She releases all the animals, and that's when they escape. And she's sending a message to an encrypted message, so Hunter and Wrecker can. I mean, yeah, no, I was right. Hunter and Wrecker will come and find him. And he's like, it's been a lot of months. They might not be alive. And she's like, they are. Like she got
hmm
very snippy about that, which is understandable for obvious
Yeah.
reasons.
Yep.
And they land and they see the ship, and she's excited. And then it's a reunion, and we don't really get to see their reaction that Crosshairs is there.
Well, we see their reaction. They are very uneasy.
Well, yeah, but I guess my best way of putting it is the next episode better be exactly where this one left off because
Oh yeah.
I want to see. I mean, like verbatim, like where it went black is where I want this to start.
No, I think this one will be. It's not. I don't think they're going to be just randomly going off on a mission or something or on the ship. I
I
think
mean,
it's going to be a little
even if they show like
confrontation.
the beginning of the episode with them getting the encrypted message and then going there and then seeing them, and then
I
that's how the episode. I will be fine with that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be. I don't want to be somewhere that's after it. I want to
Mhm.
be before it,
The only
or
thing
at
that
the same time.
the only thing that can see them pulling at the moment that
It's a
or so the
flashback.
only so something just to if they do not show anything involving the only thing they might not do is instead of showing the Bad Batch, they'll show like the scientists, like what the Empire is doing, trying to track them down.
That's a good point.
And then they might show the reunion between the Bad Batch for the following episode. I hope they
Okay,
don't do that just because I want to know what's going on with Bad Batch. But um,
but
that
I'm
like
wondering, they
those
could
are the two
start it that
things
way.
that they could do. That like if they do anything else, then I'll be a little bit disappointed.
Agreed. It's they have a leeway in this where it's like as long as they're not pushing the Bad Batch's story before really touching that reunion, I don't think I'm going to have a problem.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like if they go to the scientists, yeah, I'm not going to be thrilled necessarily, but I'm at least going to be like, well, they're not pushing the bat. You know what I'm saying? Like at least they're not pushing that along where it's like we're skipping that moment. We're
yeah.
building up to that moment more.
The only way I'll be disappointed is if they just like skip that whole the reunion thing and they're like, oh, Bad Batch is on a mission, or like they're just
Or
flying
they're
on the
trying
ship.
to
Like,
escape. They're trying to escape the Empire all of a sudden out of no
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I'll
if
agree.
if if they hold off the reunion kind of thing, like say for example, like if they do, like they're going to do the reunion and the Empire shows up and
That's
they
fine.
have to
That's
be like,
different. That's
yeah,
different to me. That to me is them. It's not them not being reunited. It's being interrupted,
yeah,
where it's like it fits. Where we're seeing it happen. Like, hey, the reason why nothing's happening is because this happened. That
yeah,
I'm fine with.
hmm,
I'm stating more the fact of like we're jumping ahead in time and we don't
yep,
know why or what happened. That
yep,
will be my issue. Although I do have a feeling they might tease it. Like I feel like they might tease like they did that, and then all of a sudden it'd be a flashback of like all of a sudden Wrecker and Hunter are on a planet, and they go, "Oh shoot, we got a message," and I think it's got to be from Omega.
oh,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like make it look like oh they're on a mission, and
hmm,
us being like this is stupid. We didn't know what's going on, da da da, and it's just those two,
hmm, hmm,
and then we find out what's going on. I I don't like that idea, but I like that idea because it's such a good slap in the face to all the viewers because it will be like, hey, you guys assumed something and that's on you. We never assumed it. Like we
I could
never.
just picture your reaction just watching
Oh,
that and just like, come on, and then just like, son of
I'll be like,
a.
what the heck? We just talked about this. I didn't want this to happen, and then all of a sudden I go, oh, okay, no, it's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Um, but yeah, I'm curious at what's going to be like the big series finale.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like I've been trying to think about it, and like obviously it's got to be some big fight with the Empire, like one
yep,
final brawl.
yep,
But like other than that, I have no concept of what's going to happen. Like, is the Empire going to capture Omega again, even if it's just temporary? You know what I'm saying? Like,
hmm,
what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen in this season? That I mean, there's still a decent amount of episodes left. A lot can happen in that amount of time.
yeah,
A
no,
lot has
definitely.
already happened in 4 episodes. Let's
A
be
lot,
honest.
yeah. No, a lot has happened. There's still a lot more to go. It's it could go any way at the moment.
Hmm.
So like we know the end goal. They're tying in this into this sequel trilogy. It's somehow going to get there.
Yes,
How
but
we're
it's got
gonna
to
get
tie
there?
into Rebels first. That's the thing.
Huh?
Like, it's got to tie into Rebels first.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to tie into Rebels.
Not completely, but it's got to a little bit because isn't the rumor that there's a sequel series? I mean, isn't it supposed to be like this story is done, but they're gonna add like another animated show after this in
I
the
mean, I
same
know that there
time?
was a rumor going around that it was
About
supposed to
like
be like
Rex.
Captain Rex. But I mean, I haven't heard anything about it
Oh,
since.
okay, so then nothing's been confirmed. I think it's gonna be one of those things where it's gonna be at the end they'll confirm it or not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll
I'm
we'll.
talking about like not in the show itself. I'm talking about like Disney. You know,
No,
like
yeah, no. I mean, it's gonna. I think they're gonna just see how the show goes. If it has a lot of success, then they'll maybe consider branching off. If not, then you know,
I'll be really sad if they kill all the Bad Batch.
I don't think they're gonna kill off the Bad Batch. But Who
Not all
knows?
of them, anyway.
No,
But they
no.
killed off more than I was expecting. I can say that.
I was not expecting that last season. So
No,
who
Tech, I
knows?
was not expecting to die. Out of
Nope.
all of them, and realistically, I know we've talked about this. We don't fully know he's dead.
Yeah, yeah, we're not getting into this. That's not for this episode.
I can't. Well, I'm just stating because I want to make this point because it's you. And if you don't see them take their last breath, they did not die.
Yep, I know. Yep. If you
That's
don't
just
see
me.
them physically dead, they are not dead.
I will agree. Like the chances of his survival is slim, but not not completely zero.
Yeah. No, it's we'll see how it goes. I'm
I'm
looking forward to
curious.
the
I'm
next
just curious
episode.
in general because, like I said, there's 11 episodes left already, and that's still a lot of episodes, and I don't know where it's going. Like I mean, like we do, but we don't.
We
That's kind of
know
my
we like I said, we know the end goal. We don't know we don't have the ride yet.
no.
So we just gotta enjoy the ride.
And you know what? I definitely can say this. I'm feeling it. I'm not hating it. They're doing much better than the season one for sure. Um, they did that with season two, personally, in my opinion. And I'm hoping they're going to do better than season two, but I think it's just too early right now.
What do you mean they did what with season two?
They made season two better than season one.
Oh, I thought,
Season one
yeah,
had way too much filler. Season two did not have. I don't even think. I think it had maybe a half an episode of filler at most.
yeah. It was one episode, and even that wasn't
I
that
don't even
bad.
think it was a full episode, to be honest with you. I think it was
But
literally half
like
the episode.
the issue that I see. Here's the thing. I don't mind the filler episodes. The issue is the fact that they release one episode every week, and if you have a filler episode with nothing else to go with it, that's when it becomes an issue. Because if you just release all the episodes at once and there are fillers in there,
That's different
okay, whatever, you can just binge it.
because there's
But
no hype. Because
if
there's
you're
no
in,
hype for that week. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like it's not a
yep,
week; it's a whole thing.
yep, you're sitting there after the episode and we're like, oh, that was it. I waited a week for this.
100% agreed. But do you have anything else you want to add to this, or do you want to
I
move on
know
to the
the next episode. I just looked it up. The
next? Okay.
episode is called "The Return,"
Which,
so
but that could also be misleading as well.
it could be misleading, but it gives us an idea of
But
what they.
it gives us an idea,
Yep.
correct? Um,
So
so that's
looking
that's
forward to
fair.
that.
Yeah, overall, I mean, so far so good. I mean, I haven't had, like I said, no issues.
Yep.
Now, you ready to talk about X Men?
Yeah. Let's move on to X Men.
So obviously, we're going to be watching because there's 5 seasons of X Men the animated series. Um, we're going to be watching a season a week ish. Um, we'll when we get to the bigger season, we'll discuss on how we might want to do that. But for right now, season one was only 15, no, 13 or 15,
13.
13,
Yeah.
13
There's two
episodes.
two seasons that have like 20 something episodes.
Yeah, I think it's season three and season four.
Yeah. And
And
I have to say, I am glad that this season was shorter because I'll be honest, I completely forgot we said we were going to talk about this. So I was just able to binge it real
no,
quick.
I was kind of. I also forget how short the episodes were.
Well, yeah. I mean, 20
I
minutes.
No, I know, but I for some reason thought they were longer. I thought they were a full half hour, but I forget that without the commercials, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And then the big thing for me was, all right, the other. So a couple of things I forgot, right? So the morph thing I did not forget. I remembered that because that was a big piece, right?
Mhm.
So morph it was presumed dead in episode one.
Yep.
I think for me was season one of how little Beast was in it. I forgot he was in prison the entire time.
Oh yeah, like I'm sitting here like, okay, Beast is going to be involved, and the only time we see Beast is like he's just sitting there reading, saying poetry. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he was arrested. I forgot. I knew he was arrested, but I couldn't remember him being in it the whole season.
Yeah.
I know it was for a decent time, and he did it because of his political stance. He wanted to prove that, you know what, you think I'm getting my day in court. Like I did what I did for a reason.
Yep.
And so here's my question: who was the main villain of season one?
I mean, I wouldn't say that there was any real main
Oh,
villain.
there was.
Well, I mean, okay, I guess the main villain kind of would have been the like, how do I put this?
There are two correct answers. Everything else is wrong.
Because it's like okay. So my take on the whole season one as
Yep.
a whole, as a whole, is that the point of the story is is like overcoming society and like that kind of thing.
Okay, kind of.
So like that,
Season one had a big plot point
yeah.
that might have been missed because I know it's sporadic at times, and we get introduced to a lot of heavy villains.
Hmm.
But there was one in particular for season one that was the big bad.
I mean, like from that, the only one that's consistent was the Sentinels, and
Correct.
so like that's the consistent one.
Correct. That was that. So for season one, the main villain was Sentinels slash Master Mold.
Master Mold, yes.
Okay. Um, and the reason for it was because of the Sentinels caused the future to be so bad, right? But Apocalypse wanted it to be bad because that's how he became in the power even later in
Hmm.
the timeline, right? So all of that connected because of Bishop going back in time to stop everything from happening.
Yep. It's see like it's what it was. The only reason I was hesitant to say the Sentinels is because it's like the Sentinels only came to be because of the humans. So it's like,
Correct,
oh,
but it's
like so when you're asking like who the big bad is, I'm like it because it like should I be saying the humans who created the Sentinels?
so I would have accepted that answer. I would have accepted Sentinels, Master Mold, or the creators of the Sentinels. Any one of those. So realistically, three. So there were three correct answers. I would have been like, okay, fine, you're on the right page. Yes, you're kind of correct that it had to do with society and everything else. But I think the main point was the robots were the main villain, and the
It's like so it's like two stories going on at once because it's X Men trying to overcome the villains that they had every episode, and then the second the story arc villain is the the society keeping them down, and they're trying to prove themselves that they're just humans, they're nothing bad. Just as the X Men are so great at telling that story of they're just humans, they're part of
yeah,
society, there's no
correct.
reason to hate them.
I think the funniest thing of the whole thing was when Master Mold says all creatures will be under because mutants are humans and humans are mutants.
Yep.
They're nothing different between the two of you. And
Yep.
I think that's what kills me in the sense of like the robots that are now taking over because technically at that time the Sentinels are trying to take over completely.
Yep.
We do see Master Mold come back later, I believe, in the other seasons, but he doesn't play a major role like he did in season one. Season
Yep.
one, he's trying to take over the entire world and technically was successful at one point until Bishop came back in time.
Yep. um I yeah, I love it's funny because I'm sitting here watching and I'm like, every animated show, season one always is such a slow storytelling because it's like they're building the universe. I'm
Hmm.
sitting here like this is because it's been a long time since I've seen this. So I honestly, it's honestly like I'm watching it for the first time again. And so I'm like I'm like I remember some parts very sporadically, like, but it's like I'm like, oh man, this is really slow. And then like at the end of the season, it starts picking up again. I'm like, okay, this is getting good. And now season two is going to come along, and it's probably going to be moving a little
Yeah, I
bit
forget who
slow.
season two's villain is. I would have to watch it, obviously, but it's like I remember each season having its own villain. Um, the other thing too is the the change in Cable in the beginning. I forgot in season one he was in it,
Oh yeah.
and this isn't the
I'm,
Cable we know.
what do you mean?
Oh, so this is where it gets weird. I forgot that this was the thing. That Cable we saw is not the Cable that we see later on. It's not the same one because he's from a different timeline.
Yeah,
He got distorted because now the timeline has changed because
because
Bishop
it's not.
came
Yep.
back. So now,
As soon
because
as
if
you
you
said that,
notice,
I'm like,
he
okay, that
doesn't
makes
have his
sense.
metal arm. He didn't have his metal arm in this. In
Did
season one,
he?
he did not.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean, so like I kind of assumed this was a different Cable, not that I just
well,
assumed it
it's
was.
Cable. It's technically Cable because it is the Cable that goes back in time to stop. He tries to stop everything from happening.
Yep.
But because Bishop was before Cable in the timeline, When it
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
timeline wise, Bishop goes back in time technically before Cable does, so that changes Cable's story, and that's a whole time. That's a whole storyline in one whole season. Um,
I so like I remember talking about. I remember thinking it when we saw when we were seeing Cable on screen. He didn't have the wristband to keep him in time, and just in general with how I know Cable, I'm like, okay, this story is kind of a little bit different. So like I just assumed for the sake of the show that they were changing Cable a little bit, but with
so
the fact that this isn't like oh, we went back in time, changed the future. Now when we see Cable again, it's going to be a different Cable because of that.
well, here's
That
how
makes sense.
I think you're partially right on that, but I also think he went there because Genosha in the future is a haven for mutants. So he goes back in time. He's trying to help the Genoshan king to get power because he's thinking that's where the mutants are going to be able to go. He then finds out that he's actually too early, and that's not who makes Genosha safe.
Mm,
That's how I took it personally because he was on the Genoshan side in
hmm.
that point, and he was not able to really come to be on that.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a whole storyline on him on the fact that Bishop went back in time before him and messed up his timeline.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense.
Also, one of the big things that bothered me, and this was a minor thing, was every time we saw like in the future, and everyone's like the X Men are dead, but they're all wearing X Men outfits. So
Oh
like
yeah.
Bishop Forge are wearing X Men outfits, and I'm like the X Men are dead, and yet you're wearing X Men outfits.
I think it's more along the lines of like it's like one of those things where it's like the X-Men as a whole is dead and it's just like remnants that
Well,
are
also
still around.
they did it so it was comic book accurate too,
Yeah.
because those were the outfits they were wearing in the comics at the time. So I
Oh,
get
okay.
it, but it was like a minor thing for me where I was just like, we keep talking about how the X Men are dead and they've been dead, and
Uh,
yet you're all wearing X Men outfits. Um,
I have to say, I like this. Oh, I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, this is basically Days of Future Past. And I'm like, I'm
well,
like,
it's called that.
yeah, no, I know, but I'm like they when they made the movies, they it's like the same as it was the same as the animated show, and I'm like, oh, I like that. I like those little
And it also was
tie-ins.
very similar to the comic too.
Oh, is it?
So the only different, so in the comic where it was originally done,
Mm-hmm.
it was
Obviously.
actually Shadowcat. Kitty Pride was the one that actually went back in time.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So with her powers, she was the only one that'd be able to go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
So like in the movie, if you remember correctly, Kitty Pride was able to get him to go into the past.
Kitty sent was the one who sent Wolverine into the past.
Realistically, she was not able to do that. In the comics, she was only able to do it phase through time herself,
Oh,
which is
okay.
why she had to go back in time. The reason why they did Wolverine was because Hugh Jackman was everyone's favorite character, and
Yeah,
it
he
made
was the
the
only
most
good.
sense.
At that point, he was the only good thing about the X Men.
Correct. No, absolutely, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, that's why they changed it. And so for this, it made more sense for Bishop because Bishop was the time traveling guy, and they did not introduce Kitty Pryde at all yet. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I don't even think they introduced Kitty Pryde at all in this series.
And are you talking about the movies?
I'm talking. No, I'm talking about the show, the
No.
animated
I
show.
don't remember. I don't remember Kitty being in the show. No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't. I think that's one of the reasons why she wasn't in it. Like for
Mm.
Days of Future Past, we also got introduced to a lot of other mutants throughout this season, as well.
Yeah.
So we were introduced to Blob, Mystique, Sunfire, Warpath, Leech, who's one of the Murlocs. Um,
Avalanche.
oh, sorry, you're right. Avalanche, Pyro.
Pyro
Um,
was
uh,
I apologize because I forgot. Was that Pyro or was it like
yes.
it was Pyro?
Yeah, that was Pyro. That was Pyro. The one that was, and I'm going to sound like a dick saying this, but the one shooting flames was 100% Pyro. The other guy that was shooting flames was Sunfire.
Oh, okay.
Colossus. I knew I was forgetting somebody.
Oh, yep. Colossus. Yep.
Colossus. Juggernaut's not a mutant, which I'm glad that they made a point to say that in the show.
Mm.
We also did you notice the cameo of Deadpool?
No.
Yeah.
Where?
So the cameo of Deadpool was when Charles Xavier was reading Sabretooth's mind.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I do
He
remember
was
that.
like in the
Yep.
corner. He was in the corner. It was
Yep.
just his mask. We didn't know who he was because at that point in time, if I remember correctly, when this was released, Deadpool was just a killer. He wasn't
Yeah.
even like the guy we like. He was nowhere. He wasn't even funny back then. He was just a mercenary, nothing else.
He hadn't turned. He didn't. He hadn't turned vigilante yet.
Well, no, he wasn't even funny yet. Like there was a point in time where he was like humorous and a killer, like
Mhm.
just a straight up killer, but he wasn't even humorous at this point in time. Like he
Oh,
was
okay.
just straight up like serious, which is
Oh,
weird to think about.
that's weird to think about.
You got to remember when he first was released, he was supposed to be Marvel's version of Deathstroke.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He was like almost verbatim like him, just with two eyes.
Hmm.
Well, no, I mean legitimately, that was the only difference between the two of them at that point.
Yeah.
And then later on, they obviously changed the story enough to make him completely different than Deathstroke, but still being similar at the same time. Um, I mean, Deadpool's now more famous than Deathstroke at this point
No, by
by
leagues.
leaps and bounds. But my point I'm making is, it's like so we saw him. We saw Wolfsbane was another character that was introduced. She was the wolf-like creature when they were released in Genosha. Well, it was kind of like animal looking. I shouldn't say wolf, but her character's name is Wolfsbane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I just don't remember that, to be honest.
yeah, and trying to think of who else. Obviously, Sabretooth, blah blah blah.
I don't
Um,
remember if you mentioned. I don't remember if you mentioned it. But we saw Angel dash Archangel
yes, so I
and
did not
the
mention that yet.
and all
You're
of
right,
the Apocalypse
Horseman.
horsemen.
Yeah, so we met Plague, we met Death, we met he's Death, War, and Pestilence. Um, all real mutants, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously we have the X-Men, which is Gambit, Rogue, Jubilee, Wolverine, Storm, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Beast. Morph is no longer. Morph didn't even make it into the opening credits scene, so that should have been a clear giveaway that he wasn't going to live.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Professor
have
X,
to
obviously.
say,
Oh,
I
I'm sorry, Magneto. I always forget him. I don't know why.
oh yeah, yeah. I have to say, I think it's funny that in the timeline, because they're building up the world, whatever, they're only referring to each other by their superhero names and not their human names. I I
I
just
know
think,
why they're doing it though.
huh?
They're doing it for a reason.
I mean, I'm just assuming they're doing it for the audience, kind of thing.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. That's the only reason why they're doing it.
Yeah,
Because it's very rare. Like you'll hear a couple of Scots,
yeah. But I mean, I
but
don't think
that's
they
the only.
said any. I don't. I think aside for Charles Xavier, they don't mention any their human name at all in season one.
No, they do. Scott was mentioned once,
Oh, did he?
and
Oh,
it's
okay.
only by Jean Grey.
Okay. Oh, yep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember when he's in trouble. She yells Scott.
Come
Yep.
on, Scott, tell me where you are. Instead of yeah, so that's like one of the few times. Everyone else, though, you're right. hundred
Hmm.
percent. Jubilee is just because her name is so close to her. I mean, her code name is so close to her actual name.
Hmm. But
Um,
I just think it's funny because like they're referring like Wolverine, and it's like not Logan, and it's like Cyclops or
yeah,
Beast.
Beast, not Hank, and it's yeah, you're absolutely right. Morph and not his name. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Gambit instead of you know what I'm saying, like
Yep.
Rogue instead of. So all that stuff too. We also we have word that Colossus's sister exists, and
Yep.
do you know who
Yep.
Colossus's sister is?
I do not, or at least I
She,
don't remember.
she is a mutant, although I don't think she's a mutant in the show. Technically, she she is sorry. She becomes Magix.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So she becomes Magix. and she becomes a power. Her mutant ability is magic, which confused the heck out of me, but okay. Um, but it's technically being linked to Limbo, I guess, is more of her power, and then she gets sorcery from it. Um, but yeah, she's the sorceress supreme in Limbo. Sorry, literally called Limbo.
I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah, she's the sorceress supreme in Limbo
Hmm.
because each dimension has their own sorcerer
Sorcerer
or
Supreme.
sorceress of supreme.
That makes
Um,
sense.
because Circe is the sorceress supreme of the dark dimension. Doctor Strange is the sorcerer supreme in Earth on Earth.
Not anymore.
Well, no, at the time I'm saying in general.
I know. I know.
Um, but yeah. So overall, I mean, we also were introduced. I think I said Apocalypse, right? I had to have.
I mean,
Um,
I kind of, if you didn't mention
we
it, I
definitely
just,
said the Horseman of Apocalypse. So I mean, he was mentioned.
yeah.
Um,
But it's strange going back to these shows that are so old because just the mentality of these shows are so different than what they are nowadays.
oh yeah,
Um, and it's hilarious because it's the classic trope of an animated superhero team up show. Whereas if the character is not the main focus of the episode, they are just like tossed around like nothing. Like you just see Storm and Wolverine and like everybody just getting their butts kicked because they're not the focal point of the episode.
yep,
And it's like going back to like the not the Star Wars, the Justice League shows where it's like
the
if
same thing.
Superman isn't the main focus of the show, he's just getting obliterated. When it's like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. It's like,
Absolutely. No, and I agree with you on that one. And I also like the fact that Wolverine's healing factor isn't that powerful.
no, it's like nothing.
I mean, I will say he does heal faster, and they mention it a lot,
Yeah,
but it doesn't seem to be because it
no,
seems like
no, no.
everyone's got the same healing factor personally.
Yeah,
Um, that and I'm trying to think of what else too. Like, we got to see. I mean, Jubilee was like the main focus of this season, X-Men was.
mhm.
But that's because she was being introduced. And I
Yeah,
believe, I mean, she was also the newest character, I think, at the time. She's the 80s, I want to say, like late 80s,
okay.
possibly mid 80s.
So at the
Um,
time, they were just this show was basically like to
like
like
she was
give her some
new, but
spotlight.
like not like brands, like in comic
Yeah,
book wise, she was brand new at the time. But
yeah,
like realistically, she was like 5 years old.
yeah.
You know what I'm
But I
saying?
mean,
Like
that's
it's one
still
of, no, I know, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
Um, and she, so that's why they wanted somebody different
Mm.
because the X-Men, the original group was obviously Iceman, Cyclops, Beast before he turned blue, Marvel Girl, and Angel. Those were the five original X-Men.
Quite
Marvel
different.
Girl was Jean Grey, by the way.
Oh, oh, okay.
They did a name change later, and then the second group of X-Men, they had an X-Men from all different countries. So Wolverine was introduced from Canada, Storm from Africa, Colossus from Russia, Banshee from Europe, specifically Ireland, Sunfire from Japan. There was somebody else I'm missing. Anyway, my point I'm making is when the second group of X-Men came in, they wanted it to be international.
Hmm.
Because when Stan Lee first created the X-Men, he wasn't allowed to draw anybody of color,
Oh,
which is why the X-Men were all in, why Beast wasn't Beast like we know him yet, because
yeah.
they all had to be white at the time.
Oh, okay.
Even though he wanted the story to be about um, race and everything else.
Diversity and all that stuff. That's
Correct.
yeah.
He was not able to do so until years later. I want to say a decade later he was able to, which is where the new team came in, which was the ones we're kind of more familiar with, where
Yeah.
it was, and then Marvel Girl was no longer, she was now Jean Grey,
Hmm.
and then we had all these new X-Men pop in from all different countries.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we kind of get a little hodgepodge of that here, um, because I think at certain points they hint at the original X Men. Not obviously not in season one. I think
Hmm.
later on they hint at like what were the original X Men, and
Oh,
like we
okay.
see a flashback, and it's all of them. like the original X-Men, Iceman, so Bobby Drake, all of them, right?
Yep.
And then we see um, now that we have the new group, right? Because Storm is playing a major role now. Obviously, well, the three leaders now at this point are Wolverine, Storm, and Cyclops. I froze for a
Yeah.
second because I was like, I thought I was forgetting somebody, and I'm not. Which fit the comics as well. Those are the
Mhm.
three greater leaders. Wolverine is definitely third on that list because he is technically a shitty leader because of the fact that he has his own thoughts, processes, and stuff, and he likes
Yeah.
to do things by himself. So it
Yeah.
doesn't make him necessarily a great leader. That being said, he's a great protector, which is why he's been a good leader at times.
Yeah. No, he does think. I mean, they showed it in season one where it's like he doesn't want to be a team player, but
He will protect them.
he will do anything to protect his family.
Mhm.
And like he said it when the school got destroyed, he's like, I didn't realize how much this place means to me until it's gone. You
Yeah,
know, it like he's it's one of those things where it's like he's a kid at heart because it's like
absolutely.
just be rebellious, be I don't take orders, and then like when things go bad, it's like I'm sorry, you guys are my family.
Yeah, and I also forget too, like the when we saw the gravestones of all their years that they died,
Mhm.
and just seeing Jubilee being the first one in 2010,
Yep.
and then all the others were in 2020.
No, some of them were, yeah, it was 2010
I
for
think it was.
Jubilees.
I think there was only one. I thought there was like 2015 or something or 2018.
So
It was
yeah, there
all
was
close
like
together. Hers
no,
was
so it was 2010. Then there were a couple in the I think you said the tens,
but
uh,
late tens, like
like
teens,
late tens. Then there was
and
one at
then
2021,
and then
and
there
then
was
there was
definitely the last one was 2023. Was Rogue the
I
oldest?
believe there was one that was later than that.
No, I thought the oldest one was 2023, and it was Rogue or 2024 maybe. But Rogue was definitely the last one to die.
Keep talking. I want to see if I can find the picture.
Oh, of course. I'll hold up this podcast like I've been doing. Um,
Doing. Hey, listen, you just love to hear yourself talk, so it's
That's true.
fine.
That is true. Overall, though, I'm definitely looking forward to the next season because I
Okay,
forgot who
you
the
you
main
were
villain
you
was.
were incorrect. Rogue was not 23, it was 33.
33. Darn it.
I knew
I,
there was one later.
sorry. You know what? I was thinking. You're right. But She was the last one to die, though.
The only one I don't remember. Let me see if I can find
We
maybe
never see
even.
Gambits
Yeah, we do not see Gambits.
because I think he was
Um,
considered a traitor.
yeah.
He didn't get a headstone. In fact, I think he
Um,
was murdered right
huh?
after
Was that?
because he was the assassin. Technically, I think he was murdered soon after that happened. So
Yeah.
I don't even think he made it to 2000
No, I don't think he would have been imprisoned or whatever. They just
or
didn't
killed.
probably
Yeah.
didn't care. Yeah.
Well, because he wasn't an X Men at that point, he was a traitor,
Yep.
even though it wasn't him. Which
Uh,
that was a mine F for me.
I just don't remember if when they said Cyclops died because I want to say I
He
remember
was there.
looking at it.
He
No, no, no.
it's
I know he was there. I feel like he was actually the last one.
no, it was definitely Rogue, because his was like he might have been 32 or 22.
Um, but let me see. X
I'm almost
Men.
positive he was 22. Because I almost remember, um, you know what I'm saying? Like in excuse me. I almost remember it being that way in that sense of like that was his thing. Like he made it pretty far, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, no, I do understand.
Hold on,
But
just keep talking. I'm almost there.
keep talking. All right. Well, I no, I thought that was a fun show, fun season. Sorry.
I
Uh,
agree.
it you gave a little bit of the world building, obviously, like you said. I thought it just funny. Like I said before, just seeing the difference of the shows from then to now, because it's like being in the time, the women were not had their roles, So it
Hmm.
was like, the Rogue her little attitude, and it was the men joking around like, oh, I'm here for you, lean on me kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how shows are done nowadays. And obviously, Jubilee being a kid, she's scared all the time. She wants to be brave, but she gets scared easily and needs help from the grown ups.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah. That was one of the big things too. Um,
like I said, it's just that obviously times are different, and it's just funny going back and seeing that. It's like when I went back and watched
I was right. Cyclops died in 2032.
32.
32. So it was
So he was later. He wasn't in the
he
20s.
was he was later. It was so Jubilee was in 2010, Storm was 2021,
Hmm.
Cyclops was 2032, and Rogue was 2033.
Okay. Yeah. So I was right with there were more that were later. Um,
Yes, I for some reason just focused on I think my mind just was like no, it's 20 like in my mind it went 2021, 2022, and 2023, and that's
mhm.
not what happened. I just assumed that was the
I
case.
thought there was one more that was like 2017 or 2018, something like that. But
Those were the only four graves we saw because I don't even think we saw Jean Grey's.
no, we didn't. No.
There was a few.
Um,
There was a because we didn't see Beast.
no.
Um,
We obviously didn't
Miracle.
see Wolverine because he was still
Well, because he
alive.
was alive. That was the only one that we kind of knew we weren't
Though
gonna.
I have to say, it was really a little unsettling when Bishop went back to the future and the guy was telling him, "Oh, well, you can try again," and we just saw his exoskeleton and just
Yeah,
full metal. I was like, "Oh, that's actually really dark."
yeah. Which proved he died.
Yeah.
Which was kind of sad. Um, that he just couldn't make it. Oh, that's awful. But yeah, overall, looking forward to that. I mean, I think season two is. I can't remember if it's Apocalypse. No, it can't be Apocalypse. Season three is definitely Magneto. I think season four is Apocalypse. Season two, I forget who the main villain is. I think it's some sort of alien. Oh, you know what? It might be Apocalypse season two, Magneto season three, Guardi the alien race in no, that's season five. Never mind.
Well, when we get to it, we get to it. We have a week to
Overall,
watch
looking
it.
forward to it. So, Mike, you have a character spotlight for us, and I promise to stay engaged this time.
You promised to stay engaged.
I am listening intently, Michael.
Great. Well, to your disappointment, don't make that face to me, all right? I don't want to see this face. um, so this week it was I'll be honest, this was a smaller character, but uh, I
Legitimately, or
wanted
just
what?
like legitimately smaller, or
No, like he doesn't have too much going on.
okay, that's fine. Continue. I'm
um,
listening intently, Michael.
I wanted to keep to my tradition. Quit smiling, all right? I want to keep to my tradition of keeping to the holidays. So this weekend is the time change. So I wanted to try to find a character that
Oh,
involved time.
okay.
Um, the character that I looked at this week, his name is the Time Commander.
Okay.
Now, the Time Commander has a lot of different iterations. So I'm focusing this time on John Starr of New Earth Time Commander.
Okay.
Um, so he is primarily a villain of Bruce Wayne, and he could control time with an hourglass. History on the character, John. Yes.
Was he the one in the Batman the Animated Series who had the clicker, or was that somebody else?
I know who you're talking about. I think that was someone else.
Okay, sorry. I mentally that's where I went, and I was like, "Ooh, do I actually know this character?" And nope. Sorry. Continue.
Again, like I
It could
said,
be. It could be, but it might not be. Fair enough.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because this, like I said, this one's from New Earth, so the animated series
Is different. No, I got
is
you.
different. But history on the character is John Starr was a scientist who turned to crime and was eventually arrested and convicted. Native to Gotham City, he was locked in a special prison in which he developed a time-controlling device in the shape of an hourglass and used it to escape prison. He tried to convince the people that he had been framed and he should be exonerated. However, when the authorities refused to clear Starr's name, he became the costume criminal known as the Time Commander. Using his time hourglass, he learned that Bruce Wayne was in fact the Batman, and Starr impersonated Wayne as Batman. He contacted Green Lantern and tricked him into giving him some of his powers. With Batman's appearance and Green Lantern's powers, Time Commander started a fantastic criminal spree on Gotham in order to force the authorities to clear Starr's name. Batman and Green Lantern tried to stop him, but the cunning criminal used his time-controlling device to send Green Lantern one day to the past and Batman one day to the future. Starr's victory was almost assured, but the heroes managed to work together from different points in time and stop Starr by destroying his hourglass. And without his time-controlling device, Batman and Green Lantern returned to the present, and Starr was once again placed under police custody. Starr managed to escape from prison, and he tricked Green Lantern again in order to use the power of the Green Lantern ring to bring back the powerful being called Cosmo. This creature was created by Dr. Elijah Carruthers, Starr's former employer and a great scientist. But he destroyed the creature for its imperfect nature. Using the powers of the ring, Starr brought Cosmo from the past, but he couldn't control the monster and was forced to use his time travel clock to save himself. Starr witnessed Cosmo's destruction of Gotham City until it was stopped by Batman, Green Lantern, and Elijah Carruthers. Starr materialized and tried to get the control of Cosmo a second time, but he failed, and his attempt allowed Batman to capture him once again. Like I said, this character had a lot of different iterations. He first began in the 1950s, and he's had iterations done on him up all the way to the last one was 2011.
Okay.
I was just going crazy because I'm like, there's so many different things, and I need to focus on one. So I just like,
yeah, absolutely.
There are actually a lot of time-based characters in the DC universe. Like there was the Time Commander, which had a bunch of different variations. There was Father Time, but there wasn't that much on him. There was also, just in general, his name was Time. There's like so many different things. I'm like trying to research
Static
them.
Shock.
Huh?
There was the girl from Static Shock that had time powers as well.
Yep.
Now DC.
It's like I'm like I don't know who to pick and who to focus on, so I'm like trying to find people who had a little bit more depth to it. Granted, like I said, this one still didn't have that much, but a little bit more.
Yeah, but it was enough. I just find it interesting of Green Lantern and Batman working together. That's an odd duo.
And I just love that Green Lantern constantly gets tricked.
Well, yeah, that's not surprising at all. But that was actually a good one, Michael. I'm proud of you.
Like I said, his main equipment is the hourglass.
Yep.
The Time Commander's hourglass allows him to control time, allowing him to travel through time, move objects and beings through time, and manipulate time in various ways. It was also capable of creating hard light constructs similar to the Green Lantern in his first outing as Time Commander. It is not known if he can still use the ability.
That's interesting. All right. Well, that was good.
Yep. And so, I know you give you a little bit of I would have done it next week, but next week is your character spotlight. So, got to do it this week. Huh?
Oh yeah, I got you now.
Because next week is the time change.
Yeah. I for a second there, I was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? But I got what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, like obviously right now because the big push for Marvel is the X-Men the Animated Series '97. Yeah. I've been doing characters that we have not really hear of too much. Once that happens, then I'm going to move on to my next section, which we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But overall, next week we're going to be talking about episode 5 of The Bad Batch, and we will be talking about season 2 of X-Men the Animated Series. And I believe next week is our last week before the premiere of Invincible. Or does that come out March 21st?
No,
It's
it's
in the
March 15th. So next week. So yeah, we will talk about uh, that the following podcast.
yeah. So not next week, the week after.
Yep.
Yep. All right, perfect. So we'll have some major stuff happening in the next couple of weeks. Next week will be very similar to this week, where we'll be talking about a new episode of The Bad Batch and another season of X-Men the Animated Series. And there'll be a character spotlight from Scott this time. So if you've made it this far, please make sure you like and subscribe. We'd much appreciate it. Other than that, this is going to be Scott and Mike signing out of the Black Heel Podcast. Have a great night.